Hello, everyone. Today we have some amazing news that has just come out of the press. The IRS is moving to deposit $2,000 stimulus payments into the bank accounts of people who receive VA, Social Security, SSI, and other benefits, just like you. You're about to receive $2,000, and the timing couldn't be better. Let's get into the specifics now. This money is equivalent to a small financial boost from the government intended to assist anyone who may be struggling financially at the moment, regardless of age and Social Security status. These payments are intended to offer much-needed relief during these difficult times to those with disabilities getting SSI or SSDI or veterans receiving VA support. However, if you are already receiving Social Security benefits, who is eligible for these payments? VA or SSI SSDI, then you're fortunate. The government wants to ensure that those who require it most receive a little more help. Let's now discuss how to ensure that you obtain the $2,000. We'll lead you through each stage so you don't miss anything. Out on a single fragrance, and once that money lands in your account, there are a plethora of things you can do with it. You can use it for anything you want, like treating yourself to something special or paying off debt. Social Security beneficiaries. The fixed earnings of SSI, SSDI, and VA payments haven't kept up with the growing prices of necessities like food, housing, and utilities. The terrible truth is that millions of people are being forced to choose between healthcare and more. Essential living costs. For this reason, in the last few months, a number of prominent members of Congress have proposed legislation that would provide $2,000 in direct financial assistance to some of the most vulnerable segments of the population. Advocates and lawmakers have also been calling for more direct financial assistance. Senator Bernie Sanders, a Democrat, said that at a time when senior poverty is rising and millions of older Americans are struggling to pay for food, affordable housing, and prescription drugs, we must demand stimulus checks specifically for Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and VA beneficiaries. That Congress work with the Senate to draft my legislation to give Social Security recipients an emergency $22,000 payment. Although no stimulus package has been approved yet, growing public support and pressure could persuade lawmakers to act soon. According to a recent survey by a well-known, here is a breakdown of who would likely be eligible for the $2,000 stimulus checks and how the distribution could work for Social Security recipients. According to the Policy Institute, over 70% of Americans support giving one-time $2,000 payments to seniors and disabled people who rely on these core federal benefits if authorized. Over 62 million Americans, including 46 million retired workers and their dependents, 8 million disabled workers and their dependents, and 6 million survivors of deceased workers, received some form of Social Security benefit in 2012. According to the most recent data available from the Social Security Administration. Under the proposed legislation, anyone receiving retirement benefits from Social Security benefits for disabilities. There would be no income phase-outs or earnings caps. Instead, the government would simply use the recipient payment information on file with the SSA to disperse the stimulus money. SSDI or survivor payments would immediately qualify for the entire $22,000 direct payment. Either paper checks or prepaid debit cards that be mailed in or deposited directly. Extra money received from Security Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, is a distinct Social Security program that pays monthly benefits to individuals and children with disabilities and low incomes in 20123. Of them, there were, similar to Social Security beneficiaries, around 8 million federal SSI recipients nationwide. Under the proposed ideas, SSI recipients would immediately be eligible for the maximum $2,000 stimulus payment. There would be no need for an additional application. Utilizing its current resources, the Social Security Administration, which oversees both Social Security and SSI, would records and infrastructure to effectively distribute the funds to this vulnerable population. Veterans Affairs VA beneficiaries would receive one-time $2,000 payments from the proposed stimulus package in addition to Social Security and SSI recipients. Many beneficiaries now receive compensation and pension benefits from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Under the current proposal under discussion, nearly all VA beneficiaries with non-taxable benefits would be automatically eligible for the $2,000 stimulus check. This includes disabled veterans receiving compensation, low-income veterans enrolled in the VA's income assistance programs, and the VA supports over 5 million veterans and their survivors annually. Since the VA payment details are already on file and integrated with the IRS, no additional paperwork or application process would be necessary for the VA pension program, surviving spouses and dependents receiving Dependent Y and indemnity compensation DIC. The purpose of including VA beneficiaries is to support disabled and proponents of low-income veterans who have served their country but are struggling financially as a result of inflation's devastating effects on their fixed incomes or disability ratings. Point out that many veterans face higher costs for housing, food, and other necessities than seniors or the disabled who rely solely on Social Security. Cite that the $2,000 stimulus payment would be well-deserved, as these heroes struggle with declining purchasing power, and that veterans on non-taxable compensation or full VA disability benefits would likely be the only recipients of the full amount, with veterans with taxable incomes possibly receiving smaller phased-out payments based on their annual income and status as taxpayers. But lawmakers are still working out the specifics. If adopted, this proposed stimulus package could directly provide more than 50 million Social Security users with over $200 billion. Survivors and disabled soldiers receiving SSI benefits. All across, a $2,000 lump sum payment might go a long way toward helping many Americans who are living on poor fixed incomes in America pay for necessities like rent, utilities, and out-of-pocket medical expenses, petrol, groceries, and other expenses. Of course, some contend that the economy cannot support another large round of stimulus checks. Concerns about the long-term viability of Social Security and other federal benefit programs if more debt is piled on are also present. But proponents argue that providing immediate relief for elderly and disabled people who are at risk of inflation is feasible and could even increase it if too much money is injected into the economy. They point out that many developed nations have already implemented similar emergency payments to support vulnerable segments of society combat inflation and the cost of living crisis, so when it comes to funding and fiscal impacts, low-income veterans should be given top priority. Should this idea move forward based on the proposed legislation and clear disbursement timelines, might you possibly receive a $2,000 stimulus check? Payments beginning to come 3 to 4 months after the stimulus bill is signed into law would be the most likely scenario. This would give the IRS may start issuing the first wave of payments as soon as 2 to 3 weeks after the president's signature, giving priority to those with electronic payment information on file. The Social Security Administration, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and the IRS will coordinate efforts to verify eligibility using current federal data. Paper checks and debit cards would probably follow over the next few months on a rolling schedule in order to receive their $2,000 stimulus the quickest. Of course, all of these potential timelines and details remain fluid, as the law has not been finalized, but the possibility of more direct payments does offer a possible rate. There is hope for millions of people who are struggling to make ends meet, considering the public conversation and significant media attention surrounding the effects of inflation. Keep checking back for the most recent information. If accepted, we'll go over all the important dates, the necessary eligibility guidelines, and distribution information. Given the sharp political divide in Congress, it will undoubtedly be difficult to approve such a large stimulus package, but supporters are hoping that the widespread economic suffering experienced by seniors, the disabled, and low-income veterans can transcend party lines and promote cooperation between the parties. Republicans have traditionally opposed deficit spending on COVID alleviation initiatives due to worries about the nation's rapidly increasing debt levels.